Happy Sunday, Jamaica. It's your favorite TV magazine program, and I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. Welcome. We have a wonderful show packaged just for you. More after this message.
A powerful year of diplomacy, leadership, and global impact. From strengthening Jamaica-US relations to hosting the region for CARICOM's 49th Heads of Government meeting, from expanding support for returning Jamaicans to major international humanitarian assistance after Hurricane Melissa, 5 defining moments. One unforgettable year.
These days, our personal information is everywhere, from banks and schools to phone companies and online services. But what many people don't know is that under Jamaica's Data Protection Act, you have the right to ask who has your information and what they're doing with it. That's where a data subject access request comes in. In this week's episode of Get the Facts, we break down what that is, why it's important, and how it helps you take back control of your personal data. Let's join in on the discussion.
Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm Theodore Henry. In today's digital age, individuals have the right to access and control how their personal data is collected, stored, and used by organizations. Laws such as the Data Protection Act and the Access to Information Act provide frameworks that empower people to request information about their personal data and, of course, understand how it is processed. Today we'll hear from Director, Complaints Resolution and Compliance in the Office of the Information Commissioner, Ms. Andrea Holness. Now, she's here to explain how people can exercise their rights and help us understand the responsibilities of data controllers. Thank you for joining us, Lady Holness.
Hello, and warmest greetings from the Office of the Information Commissioner. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Let's jump right into the definitions. Data Protection Act, that's pretty familiar to most people, I believe. Access to Information Act might not be so familiar. What's the difference between the two?
The Access Information Act was passed in 2002 and provides a way for citizens to access government records, official records, about just about everything related to government business. It also provides an exemption at Section 22 for personal data. So if personal data is a part of the official records being requested, you are the government agency, public authority, is actually expected to redact that information, save and except if you, the person requesting the information, that information is yours, belongs to you. Under the ATI Act, you can also, having made the request yourself, as a subject of the information, have it amended and annotated. The Data Protection Act asks you to take responsibility and exercise your qualified privacy right with respect to how your personal data being what is used to identify you either by itself or in conjunction with other information, uniquely, and control how it's processed.
Right, so take some responsibility for that. So you're giving us tools to take that responsibility.
Yes, if you consider that the advent of privacy and privacy issue has a very dark history, in that it's anchored in the darker ages of world wars and the Holocaust, where government was able to use citizens' data to find them. And of course, if you know anything about the Holocaust, you know that it was not just to seek and find, but also to end lives. Right. So you will find that in Europe, privacy and data protection are extremely stringent in how it's managed. And it's things that we are to do every day to allow us to do our business, whatever that business is, with our information protected. With increasing, especially with us and the scamming culture, you can understand, even just in your daily life, to protect your information so fraud isn't perpetrated in your name, etc.
Got it. So you've partially answered a question that I was going to ask, because you mentioned it is our right and it's a bit of our responsibility. Now, usually some people might say, I hear about the Access to Information Act, but is journalists use it or people in certain positions? But what you're saying is all of us.
Yes, all citizens or persons within Jamaica's jurisdiction can have, through the ATI Act, access to government records, official records, with certain limitations, of course, because we have to appreciate that access and privacy are qualified rights. They're not absolute rights, and therefore will be subject to legal parameters, legal limitations.
Got it. Very briefly, we've been using some terms. Let's define them again. Data subject, data controller.
Okay, so the data subject, you and I, the children, anyone in our jurisdiction, and it applies even to persons who have been deceased up to 30 years with respect from the current date. So estates of persons are also protected up to 30 years. Data controllers are any persons, which would include not just natural persons, but legal personalities like corporations, businesses, and public authorities who process your personal data and determine the purpose for which that's processed and the means by which it's processed.
All right, data subject, data controller. All right, so now we can start using those terms.
Yes.
So how specific should a data subject's request be to a data controller? Like, how does the process work? Can you just go to somebody who you know has some data or an entity and say, give me everything you know about me?
Well, in a perfect world, that would be possible. But since we're in this world, the Act, as well as the Data Protection Regulations 2024, actually prescribes a form, Form 2, which sets out what exactly it is that you can ask for. I think there are about 5 options. You can ask, for example, to know what data is held by the data controller, for what purpose, is it shared with anybody else in terms of who receives your data as part of its processing.
But let me stick up in what data, as in what do you have for me, but not necessarily the details of the data?
Well, you can actually have access to what you would have submitted. And if you look at what personal data is, it extends to opinions and decisions made about individuals. So it's not just the information itself that you would provide, your name, your date of birth, all of those things. But even when you have a loan, for example, and automated decision making is a part of it, you can actually, between Section 6 and 8 of the Data Protection Act, as qualified by the Part 5, which looks at all the exemptions, and the second schedule, as even for the logistics or the logic of those automated decisions.
That's the part about how the data is used that we mentioned in the intro, or how it is processed.
All right, so let me define processed, because I find that process is actually defined in the Act. And so we tend to say, we receive it and then we process it. In the Act, the definition is quite wide, so that process actually starts from the moment you have the data. For example, you're sending an email to a colleague. Your email has your first name and last name as a part of it. That is actually your personal data being shared and what you would call poised for processing, because there would be a legitimate reason, for example, contractual agreements, which would allow for that. But upon even receiving an email, the person should be aware, especially if they're doing it as a controller, in terms of doing a transaction, that they're poised to be processing and put certain protections in place.
Got it. This is fascinating. But we're going to take a break at the moment. More on this discussion with Director of Complaints Resolution and Compliance in the Office of the Information Commissioner, Ms. Andrew Holness. Please stay with us.
Hey there, I'm Landy, your friendly guide to NLA Connect, the National Land Agency's customer engagement platform. Today we'll be navigating our page with some frequently asked questions.
Hey Landy, what's NLA Connect?
Hey there. NLA Connect is a simple, user-friendly online platform that's available 24/7 to customers, where they can submit various requests about land-related matters.
Hi Landy, how do I submit a request to NLA Connect?
Hi customer. Once on the platform, click Request and fill out the form with your details. choose the relevant division and select the type of request. Pick your preferred response method, review, and consent to the privacy notice. Then submit. You will receive a case number to track your request.
Tell me something, Landy. Can you submit more than one request at a time?
No, you can only submit one request type at a time. Once that case is closed, feel free to send in another.
Landy, am I able to track my request?
Yes. To track your request status, click the Status tab, enter your email or case number, verify with the code sent to your email, and then view updates ranging from submitted to closed.
How does the NLA treat my data?
Our privacy policy is in accordance with the Data Protection Act 2020. As a result, some of the technical measures used to protect your data includes firewalls, encryptions, and regular system updates. Also, our employees are only provided with your information on a need-to-know basis. Still have questions? Visit www.nla.gov.jm. Go to Applications, select NLA Connect, and check out our FAQs tab for more information. NLA Connect, your voice, our priority.
Welcome back to Get the Facts. We continue our conversation with Ms. Andrea Holness, Director, Complaints Resolution and Compliance at the Office of the Information Commissioner. Lady Holness, let's jump right into from where we were. You were telling us about the protections. We defined data subjects and data controllers. But let's talk about data controllers for a second. Now, how should data controllers respond to a request? I am going to go out on a limb here and assume that they have to respond to a request. But what else? What time frames are we talking about? Does it involve costs? What's the responsibility on their side of the equation?
All right, so we were working within a legal framework as set up under the Data Protection Act. Yeah. So Section 6 to 8 Section 6 to 8 actually limited and qualified by Part 5, which look at exemptions to disclosure, and the second schedule under that. So when you open the Act, the first subsection says, subject to the limitations, data controllers should provide the information. Okay. So then between those sections, or among those sections and regulations, we set up a framework for how the access request should be made using a standard form. Form 2 in the regs, in the first schedule, and the second schedule of the Data Protection Regulations 2024 outline the possible costs, because you can actually get the information as long as it's clear, intelligible, in plain language, as a soft copy, as a hard copy, and the hard copy may actually be video and audio, because you know about the expanded definition of what a document is. Right. So you are expected, if all is well, because the data controller unfortunately has the burden of proof if they refuse to process a DSAR, data subject access request. Because they would first have to make sure that the data subject requesting the information can get the information by verifying their identity, that the information that they're requesting is within their span of control. That means they still have it. Or if it is not, they need to advise the data subject as quickly as possible. So Section 6 specifies that normal requests with everything available to the data controller should be satisfied within 30 days at most, and the regulation extends that working days. Cool. No, I think it's actually calendar days. Calendar, days, okay. Yeah. And then the regulation extends that to 45 days should the information requested be quite complex, or they have to resort to getting information from another controller. And I want to point out that this right of access through the DSAR allows for data portability, because if you've gone to NCB, you just open an account, and you decide you want to open an account at First Global, you can, through a data subject access request, ask NCB to send and transmit that information to First Global, and it has to be in writing. Right. They have to be very clear about what it is. So you'd fill out that Form 2, and it even extends to minors and patients where they're a legal representative for the minor, parents or guardian, and for the patient, would be their legal rep, the authorized person, to make the application on their behalf. And data controllers must also provide for persons who may have impairments to receive the information in a clear, intelligible form, which may, for someone who is visually impaired, it may actually be by a video or audio visual means so they can hear it.
Okay.
And for someone who is not able to hear, in a form that a video may be, so that they can look at it.
All right, so there's a lot of work on the data controller side.
Yes.
And you mentioned something about you have to verify identity, you have to verify if the person can get the data. A situation that might say, no, you can't get the data, for example, correct me if I'm wrong.
Trade secrets.
Trade secrets. What about if your personal data involves other people's personal data?
Well, that's part of the assessment that the data controller has to do while they review the request, which is why you have that 30-day window, because it's not impossible for the data still to be shared. That information can be redacted. You can get consent from the third party, which is the other data subject whose information is contained therein. And if there is an express refusal to have the information shared, just as with the ATI, you can have that information redacted so that it's shared without the what you would call exempt information being exposed.
I like that, exempt information. Got it. What recourse does a data subject have if a data controller is non-compliant?
All right. So as with any other compliance framework, there is room for complaints to be made. So the first...
Through your office?
Yes, but we're going to go through that. He who is responsible would be the first contact. So you would need to use the complaints process with that the data controller ought to have in place.
Right.
If you're not satisfied with that and the 30 days or the 45 days have elapsed, then you can make a request to our office. Or the commissioner through the team will look through the request to see whether or not there's merit to it and whether or not to order the data controller to comply and fulfill the request, or depending on what's there, if the request is overly cumbersome or there are some restrictions in law that, and it's, for example, in Section 8, it talks about if the information was already provided and you're coming back for the same information repeatedly, then those will be grounds for the commissioner to say, no, dismiss the appeal, dismiss the complaint, and move on. There is also the possibility to have a certified mediator assess the situation and make a recommendation, which the commissioner may accept or not. And that worst case scenario, there will be fines, enforcement orders that can be issued, and you can even get to litigation because the 6th standard speaks about processing with respect to data subjects' rights. And if you're in contravention of Section 6, that's failure to provide the request, it actually constitutes an offense. So it depends on the circumstances, but generally, speak to the data controller first, recourse to our office, and ultimately, depending on the circumstances, it may end up in court, either civil proceedings or criminal proceedings.
All right, you've laid out the path to escalation very clearly. Thank you. We're at the very final moment of this interview. There are a few seconds left. Is there a final word you'd like to share directly with our audience?
Well, I just want to say that data controllers and data subjects have to work together to ensure that we have a robust regime. Data subjects need to take control of their data. It's a theme that's with our office. My personal view is that we will become such a compliant or data-sensitive culture that our businesses will do better. We'll have greater public trust and confidence because persons feel safe within our jurisdiction to allow their data to be processed, whether it's here in Jamaica or through one of our consulates, because we have such a robust system. It's a journey, it's not a one-step event, and we will continue to evolve, and we hope we can all look at the same direction, protect my data, have it processed within a secure space, and so that all of us will feel confident, not just in our jurisdiction, but overseas, because we understand our rights and what protection really means.
All right. And on that note, this has been Get the Facts. Our guest was Director, Complaints Resolution and Compliance in the Office of the Information Commissioner, Ms. Andrea Holness. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm Theodore Henry. Take good care.
The National Rural School Bus Program is getting smarter. With your child's student ID card, parents receive real-time notifications every time they board or exit the bus. Each card is unique and securely linked to the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information database. Tap on, tap off, and parents stay updated instantly. So, how do you register? Number 1. Visit jamaica-district.mysmartterm.com/bus-portal/registration. Number 2. Enter your child's details. Number 3. Upload supporting documents. Number 4. Submit your application. It's that easy. Safer, smarter, more secure. Register today and ride with peace of mind.
Clean, safe water is something we depend on every single day, often without a second thought. But after the passage of a hurricane, that basic necessity can quickly become a major challenge when flooding, damaged pipelines and contaminated sources threaten said supply. In this next feature, we'll look at the steps the National Water Commission, NWC, takes to ensure that we have quality water pouring through our taps each day, but particularly after hurricanes.
When hurricanes strike, the damage goes far beyond fallen trees and blocked roads. Our water supply, the very thing we depend on to survive, can also be disturbed. Heavy rainfall and flooding can overwhelm drainage systems, causing dirty water, often mixed with sewage and chemicals, to seep into waterways. And without the work of the National Water Commission, NWC, bacteria and other harmful substances could make their way straight to our taps and thus our bodies. So routinely and particularly after a hurricane, the NWC works around the clock to ensure that what comes out of your tap is safe to drink.
So what tends to happen with heavy rains, whether it's from a tropical storm or just a weekend of heavy rainfall, it scours or erodes slopes. All of that mud and debris sometimes runs down into the waterways. And that's one of the reasons why as NWC we generally try to go to the tops of the streams, or we call it riverhead. Notwithstanding with persons continuously populating greener and greener spaces, we have to take steps to monitor these locations. These eroded situations and rivers sometimes cause flooding, sometimes they cause blockages in our intake, forcing us again to shut down and to do remedial work, literally to clear. Sometimes, depending on the size of the facility, we have to use manpower. It requires, therefore, a response from us, because ultimately we are producing a consumable good. And so we take the precautions as if it were food to do a number of things.
After the storm passes, the work continues. Restoring clean water means rebuilding trust, drop by drop. And so the water treatment process usually involves 5 distinct stages. After being channeled to the station from rivers, it goes through a process known as aeration, where it is exposed to air and sunlight for natural treatment. It then goes through screening to remove debris from the water. After the water has been through the aerator and it is screened, dirt particles remain. Hence, it will then go through coagulation and flocculation, where aluminum sulfate is added to remove suspended solids, color, and certain microorganisms from the water. In sedimentation, dirt particles are left to settle before being strained during the filtration stage. And the final stage of the treatment process is disinfection. Here, chlorine is added to kill any bacteria or germ. Enough chlorine is used to ensure that as the treated water is transported to your homes and offices, it remains protected against any germs the water may encounter.
We also then go along the network and we take samples at different points just to ensure that the water quality is maintained. Why do we do this? Simple, because a water body leaving the plant could come into contact with a section of a broken pipeline or some other kind of contaminant. And by virtue of our testing, we can pick up and narrow down to where that intrusion occurs and be able to treat and remedy it.
It's a science that becomes even more critical after the storm. Here, a worker is doing a post-chlorination test to make sure that treated water is at least 2.5 parts per million, the required level of chlorine in the water leaving the plant.
The NWC does several levels of post-disaster assessment. We check both sources and our facilities. So we look at the risk factors that could exist in the source area, whether the river has shifted course, whether there is a new level in terms of volume of debris, fallen trees upstream. We look for even animal contact that may have changed and whatever operations are close to. Because in some of these locations, you also have farming activities, and sometimes the dynamics of those locations change after a particular disaster. So we examine that and we make decisions if we are to change how we operate to safeguard water supply. We also look at our physical infrastructure, the brick and mortar, or in this case, block and cement, that forms a number of our structures. And we look at it for resilience.
And of course, while the NWC works to restore safe supply, Jamaicans are urged to take precautions at home if in doubt.
In times like these, when you're talking about a hurricane, we still say to customers, follow the guidelines of the Ministry of Health. So if the ministry says boil water, then that is an advice that as the regulator for the NWC's operations, they are within their remit to do so. And so we ask you to follow that. If they also give an advisory in terms of treating the water with further disinfection, then we encourage you to follow those guidelines as well.
Jamaica, mighty one, oh, I bless our land always, for strength and no vigor, with love and no courage, oh, yeah. So let's remind ourselves and tell the world, hey. We are Jamaicans. Hello. Hello. I'm a Jamaican.
We've come to the end of today's show. I do hope that you enjoyed this package. To catch a repeat of this or any other, feel free to log on to our website at jis.gov.jm. Until next time, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Walk good.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.